Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Jason Deitch and I want to invite you to learn more about a brand new program I'm excited to launch with you with my good friend Dr. Bob Hoffman. Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. It's great to be with you today.
Thank you. I agree. Let's introduce who you are, our history and relationship, and then get right into talking about a brand new program I'm excited for you to launch. Called the Practice Transformation Bootcamp. Transformation is the thing these days. As you've always taught me, there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. That I think holds true today more than ever before. But let me just let everybody know that you and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, 10 plus years ago, worked together, collaborated on this Discover Wellness book. You gave me what I'll call my first break. After I'll say retired from practice and knew I needed to do something bigger. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful. Working with the Master Circle as the Chief Wellness Officer, I think I was the first Chief Wellness Officer at the time, was an amazing honor. And we've had a long and great history together. And for that, I say thank you publicly and want to learn from more and more importantly, have you share with everybody what this transformation program is all about. So one, thank you. And two, tell us more about the program.
Well, first, before I dive into the program, thank you for that introduction. It's very kind of you. Jason, we do have a long history. We've gone back a long time. We've worked together. We've collaborated together. We've coached together. I have the greatest respect and admiration for you, and I know you know that.
Thank you.
When we wrote that book 10 years ago, Discover Wellness, How Staying Healthy Can Make You Rich, it's kind of hard to believe it's 10 years. It was a phenomenal book. I am so proud of it, and I'm so proud of you for both of our contributions. But in it was nowhere mentioned the word brain. And quite honestly, I believe that the biggest problem facing our profession today, by far, after 40 years in the profession, is we have basically had a failure to adapt. The world's changing rapidly. Today, more than 50% of my members get 50% of their new patients through social media. That didn't exist a few years ago. We have failed to adapt. We're still asking the same case history questions we asked 70 years ago. The world is different. We're still running the same business model as we have for 50 years. The world is different. And if we even go back to our chiropractic philosophy, Jason, we know that when we adapt to our internal and external stresses in a timely fashion, we're in a state of ease. When we fail to adapt, we're in a state of dis-ease. That's just as true for our body as it is for our business or our profession or our relationships. And today I get to speak to chiropractors around the world, graduates of every school, different skill set, different personalities that are still asking old questions, performing old tests, adjusting with old protocols. And it's not like it's wrong or bad. It clearly works, but it's kind of like running a race with a 50-pound weight around your leg. It's just so much harder and more challenging. One of the things I hear constantly from practitioners is the things I used to do that work great aren't working so great anymore. At the end of seminars, I have some practitioners come up to me. I'll give you an example. This just happened to me recently. A gentleman said, I've been in practice for 29 years. The first 24 or 25 years were awesome. The last 4 or 5, I don't think I've done anything different, but I can't find good staff. New patients aren't showing up. They're not choosing care. They're not sticking around with care. I've actually regressed 20 or 30% each year for the last few years. Could you help me? And I always make 2 comments to these doctors. First, have you really practiced 29 years? Or have you practiced 1 year that you've repeated 29 times? And second, in the body of your question was the solution. And I haven't really changed anything. And this is a huge issue in our profession. With today's knowledge, technology, research, resources, it is so much easier to have a new chiropractic story that lay people understand, that they can comprehend. It's so much easier to run a different practice model based on timeless principles of chiropractic that are used in today's marketplace that people get, they want to align with, they engage with. So many of my doctors that have made this transformation are doing so much better in practice than ever before. And I want that for our profession. I think there's time for a new gold standard, for new and more important evolution without giving up our history, but embracing it with a new language, a new story, new questions, new evaluation, new business model, etc. And that's what the Practice Transformation Bootcamp is really all about.
That sounds awesome. You mentioned in the beginning, that really sort of the transformation is around the brain. Do you want to talk more about how that now fits into our story?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. The World Health Organization said that stress is the epidemic of the 21st century. Now, that wasn't you saying it or me saying it or some chiropractic group. That was the World Health Organization. We are entering in the early stages of the worst epidemic in history, the neurologic epidemic. There are more people suffering from severe neurological conditions today than ever before. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety, depression, autism. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lupus, MS. I mean, it's just crazy. And the percentages of the people suffering from these conditions are out of control and skyrocketing. This is not only a huge problem in society, but it is a golden opportunity for us in chiropractic because we are a neuromusculoskeletal science, art, and philosophy, and we need to utilize that. So to me, one of the critical starting points is with a word called stress. I believe that every one of our patients know that they're chronically stressed. What they don't yet know is how does that affect their brain, their body, and their life. And once we make that connection, man, they just want you to be part of their life forever. Because here's another piece of that puzzle. They know that their stress is never going away. It's going to be there for as long as they're alive. And they're going to need someone on their team to neutralize that stress. And I know that's the chiropractor.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that there is a new way. You talked about I'll say the older way, I haven't changed, versus the newer way. Are people actually coming in for care that are asymptomatic or have things beyond neck and back pain, looking for solutions for these wider neurological issues? Because I think most of the profession, sort of believes or has this premise that, you get them in for their symptoms and then you somehow convert them to wanting something else. Of course, I'm a believer that if somebody's coming in for pain relief, they're coming in for pain relief. Tell me more about what the conversation looks like, and where does it start? Is it with your social media posts and your marketing, or do you bring them in and then try to get them to want something different?
No. The methodology of bringing them in and trying to convert them has never really worked. Maybe there's a small percentage, but overall it's been a failed strategy, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is it's all of the above. Now, in this boot camp, I've interviewed 10 doctors in practice who are doing what all chiropractors do all the time, but have switched to a brain-based model. And I interviewed them. There's 10 hours of interview. And one of the questions I asked them right up front is, when you decided to switch over to a brain-based model, what was the first thing that had to change for you in your office? What was the linchpin? Now, of course, none of these interviews knew about the other ones. I'm the only one that knew of all of them. And the number one thing that all 10 out of 10 said is I changed the conversation. And when I changed the conversation, it was like opening up the floodgates. Everything else changed. So when we talk about stress, we've got to ask questions. Like I developed 35 new case history questions. I'm not suggesting that anybody needs to use 35 new case history questions. But even if you use just 3 or 4 or 5, you change the trajectory of that relationship from the very beginning. For example, Jason, where in your body do you hold or carry your stress?
Well, I would say my stomach, my digestive area.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a very common answer.
Yep.
The obvious common answers are in my head, my jaw, my neck, my chest, my lower back, my abdomen. Some people even say my feet. But in the process of asking and answering that question, a couple of really important things happened. You rolled your eyes back and you thought about it, and you instantly knew, I have stress, and holy crap, I feel it in my body. That perhaps was the very first time they made that connection. Because remember, I said before, everybody knows they're under stress, they just don't know how it affects them.
Right.
Now, I don't even stop there. I'm going to ask questions like, is it mostly physical, chemical, or emotional stress that you feel in your abdomen? How long have you noticed that? I'm going to ask questions. You can answer this one. When you're really super stressed, is there a secondary place you feel it?
I try not to get super stressed. But
Yeah.
I got your point.
And I try not to be your height, but it doesn't really work.
Then it doesn't hurt me. It hurts somebody. No, I'm just kidding.
But you get the point.
I totally get it. I'm playing.
You know, why do you think your body failed to heal itself this time? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most, how would you rate an average day of stress in your life? Now, interesting, in asking that question of thousands of people, over 80%, their answer was between 7 and 8.
Wow.
Now, and again, I'm not accepting that. I'm digging in. Wow, 7 or 8 out of 10 on an average day? Do you know that the human brain and body was never designed to handle that level of stress day after day without damage, degeneration, or disease? See, we've changed the conversation. And by changing the conversation, which we could certainly do on social media as well, we could certainly do in how we market internally in our office, one-on-one in a stress workshop or a stress class, teaching people how to go from being stressed to becoming blessed is a great class to be teaching people. And people get it because they know. I developed a survey that you ask a patient on your case history. Here are 12 of the most common physical stresses. Which do you have in the last 30 days? Here are the 12 of the most common chemical stresses and most common 12 emotional stresses. Which have you experienced? You see, by checking off those boxes, the patient gets that they're literally diagnosing themselves, holy mackerel, I really am stressed to the max. I need help with this.
It's powerful. I mean, I agree with you. Starting by, evoking the right questions is essential. Having the conversation around brain, neurology, the conditions that are very popular epidemics these days is a great way to shift or transform from just the, crack my neck and back into something much more impactful and powerful that I think we all know, but have been trying to figure out how to communicate effectively. How does this change the actual practice? Am I still adjusting the spine? Am I doing my same technique? What else is different besides the conversation?
It cuts all party lines. I don't care what technique you use. You can continue to use it. The fact is that chiropractic is still chiropractic. And here's the beautiful part of this whole paradigm. We now know from research, there's tons of research, including Heidi Havik's that we've discussed, that when we adjust the spine, we reboot the brain. We normalize and maximize brain function. We can't stop the patient from having stress, but we can neutralize it before it causes damage, degeneration, and disease. And when we start communicating that to the patient, explosions go off in the practice. Now, relative to adjusting, there are certain things we should know. For example, when we talk about stress causing brain dysfunction, basically what we're saying is the autonomic nervous system is sympathetics and parasympathetics. I like to refer to the sympathetics as our survival nervous system because that's its only major function. Our parasympathetics are our healing nervous system. Now, ideally, Jason, they're supposed to be in balance. But when we're bombarded with constant chronic low levels of physical, chemical, and emotional stress 24/7, we're constantly in a sympathetic storm. We're spilling cortisol. We're marinating in these corrosive chemicals. And that's what causes the damage, degeneration, and disease. So we want to try to down-regulate the sympathetics and up-regulate the parasympathetics. That's how healing occurs. So how do we do that? Well, the cranium, atlas axis, sacrum are the primary areas that when we adjust it, stimulate parasympathetic function. We want to do more and more of that. That doesn't mean that we never adjust the lower cervicals, thoracics, or lumbars, but when we adjust those areas visit after visit, forcefully, we're stimulating more sympathetics that are already in a storm. That's why some people come into chiropractors and they feel great initially. We keep doing the same things and then they get sicker than ever. So there are some protocols to consider relative to chiropractic adjusting, but no, you could practice any way you want. We have a model. Now, another piece of this that I just want to connect here, it's like Legos, we're snapping in each piece, is we literally had to create a new model of chiropractic practice to fit this. Because the same thing I tell docs to do, change the conversation, when we change the conversation with our clients, we had to then create a model to catch up with it. So we've actually created a whole new model with case history questions, different types of exams, different tools to use to really lower sympathetics, raise parasympathetics, to reduce the stress overload. We have different diagnostics, a different business model, a different communication system that all fit like pieces of a puzzle together and work beautifully.
That sounds awesome. Tell me more, I guess, about the practical use and implementation. So I get it. I go through a series of, I guess, videos and trainings. I believe there's coaching with you one-on-one. How long, how much energy, effort, time, how long should this transformation take, and how much or how little does my staff have to be involved?
Great questions. First, you go at your own pace. There are doctors who have immediately created this full transformation from pain to brain in 30 days. Other people, it's taken them 4 or 5 or 6 months. There's no race. People go at their own pace. How much time and energy does it take? Well, again, it depends on the doc. But there's 14 hours of video training. There's 28 hours of audio training. That's 42 hours of training. Now, who's going to watch all of that and listen to all of that in a week? Nobody on earth. So it's a process that needs to unfold. There are all kinds of forms, surveys, documents, letters that help you make this process implementable far quicker, but you go at your own pace. Yes, should the staff be involved? 100%. But we can't legislate that. We have to inspire them into this by, again, changing the conversation, even in how we train our team. So it's all part of the process. Now, nobody has to be committed to going through the entire process. Some people will pick and choose sections, what works for them. The 3 30-minute coaching calls with me are really all about making sure you understand the key points, implementation strategy, making sure you're not leaving anything out, clarifying any point of confusion. I want to make sure the doctor who participates in this boot camp has everything it takes to guarantee their success through the process.
Awesome. And although, like chiropractic, we say that it's for everyone, it's not really for everyone, and that not everybody's ready for it at this time. So who's the right kind of person for this, and who's not really the right kind of person for this? I mean, who's either not ready or not appropriate to kind of go, yes, I'm in, and who's really ideal?
Great question. First, the global answer is for everyone. But let's dig deeper. If someone's in practice and consistently getting outstanding clinical results, who has a high level of joy and fulfillment and already has the practice of their dreams, they don't need any of this. But on the other hand, you and I both know, because we travel a lot, we speak to a lot of people, we email and connect with people, and we connect on social media. Most of our colleagues are not getting great clinical results that are reproducible. They're burnt out. They're not feeling the joy and the passion that they once did. They're not making enough money to make ends meet. It's become more expensive to run a practice. They're frustrated because some people don't respond the way they hoped or expected. All of those people will thrive and flourish with this program. So it is for everyone, but some people it's far more essential, far more important than for others.
Right on, right on. I agree. Listen, I think just even the inspiration of changing it up for the practitioner, for the doctor, expanding the perception of what it is that we do as providers beyond, the age-old, foolish jokes of, oh, crack my neck, thanks so much, but into really being more neurologists of sort, I think is nothing short of inspiring and if nothing else, fulfilling for the doctor in and of himself. I know your work, I know what you've done, I know the systems that you put into place and how great you are at doing that. So it's awesome to put it all together. I know there's some that are out there teaching the idea, others that teach practice management. There's not many that are sort of teaching the idea and how to implement and practice. So, kudos to you and the Master Circle for doing that. What have I not asked you? What other things do people need to know in order to be able to, go, you know what, this is a good idea. Now's the right time. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, first, when I started this quest about 5 or 6 years ago, nobody was talking about the brain. Now everybody's talking about it. So we're looking to where the puck is going, so to speak. I also want to point out that I'm not a neurologist, and nobody needs to be a neurologist to be part of this. I've been blessed by being friends with many top-flight, world-class chiropractic neurologists. I discovered a couple of things. They all have amazing breakthroughs. They don't talk to each other, so they're all independent, and they all talk over everyone's head. They just do. They just do. They don't mean to. I have the greatest respect for them. I already said that they're my friends, my colleagues. I put it into street talk. In a perfect world, Jason, those of us who got the best clinical results should have the best practices. That's just not the case. Those of us who are the best communicators have the best practices. Just like with you, with your expertise on social media, you're the best communicator. That's why you're doing so well with what you do, your area of expertise. And that's why so many people look up to you, not only literally, but proverbially, because you mastered how to communicate on social media. Well, what the Practice Transformation Bootcamp is not only a new model of practice that's easy, that's adaptable, but it's primarily a new chiropractic story. The bone at a place, pinching a nerve story that was part of our history and, quite frankly, a necessity for our survival over the last 10 or 20 or 30 years has become a block and a subluxation to our growth. We needed to come up with a better story. Of all the things that I love about brain-based chiropractic and brain-based wellness, my number one love of it is that it finally gives us a scientifically based, research-backed, totally understandable, comprehensible reason why every patient needs lifetime care. So we don't have to come from philosophy alone. It doesn't have to be just dogma. We can now prove it and explain it and document it. And I think if more of our chiropractic colleagues, those in school, new practitioners, seasoned practitioners, those that are doing well, those that are struggling, understood this and improved their ability to communicate and tell this story in a more compelling and more understandable way, practice success is easy. It's easy to succeed. You're right. I've been saying for 25 years there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. It's just as true now. But it's 1,000 times more true if you practice in a new model that's easier and you get rid of the shackles and the weights that were on your leg from the old model.
I love it. That sounds awesome to me. Bob, thanks for taking some time to share what's new for building the transformation, making it simple. I know it's not easy to be on the cutting and sometimes bleeding edge, but you've been there.
Done that.
Exactly. So thanks for all you do. Thanks for putting this together. I hope all of you have enjoyed, learning more. I want to encourage you to learn more, research it, investigate it. And if it is right for you, and I think it should be right for a lot of you, please take action, make it happen. This is the shift that I think our profession absolutely needs to make as it relates to elevating the conversation and really being able to bring more care to more people for more of the right reasons. So, Bob, I'll give you final words and closing comments.
Well, first of all, thank you again so much. I love and appreciate you and respect you so much. For those people who are interested right now, we're in the earliest stages of this launch. The launch is going to be going on just for about another 10 days. And then the price of this program is going to literally double. If you want more information or you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. bob@themasterscircle.net.
Right.
Just email me. I promise I'll email you back. I'll respond to any comments and questions. I'll get you into the email that's been going out with the training videos, the free training videos. I'll send them to you so that you could see it and get a sense of what this is all about. And if it's not right, hey, that's great. I still appreciate you. But if it is right, hey, jump on board and let me help you have the practice of your life.
Outstanding. Bob, thank you so much for all you do. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Please check out the program. I think you're going to enjoy it.